The Iron Gate had stood for 40 years as a jagged scar across the valley, a barrier that the villagers whispered was the only thing standing between their starving families and a paradise of golden wheat and endless spring. From Alara's perspective, the silent sentinel who guarded it was a symbol of ancient, unfeeling cruelty, a man who watched their suffering with eyes as cold as the flint he sharpened. She spent her youth sharpening her resentment alongside her lockpicks, convinced that the other side held the stolen inheritance of her people. But for Elias, the sentinel, the gate was a desperate dam holding back a flood of shimmering, parasitic spirits that thrived in those beautiful fields, turning any living soul into a hollow vessel for the void. When the lock finally clicked under Alara's trembling fingers and the massive hinges groaned open, the expected warmth of the sun never hit her face. Instead, the paradise began to ripple with a hungry, unnatural light, and as the first scream echoed from the grass, she realized that the man she had spent a lifetime hating had been the only one truly keeping her alive. As the shimmering void spilled across the threshold, Alara's triumph turned to ash, and she instinctively lunged for the heavy iron handle, just as Elias slammed his shoulder into the frame, his aging muscles straining against the sudden, freezing pressure of the spirits trying to force their way through. In the village below, the initial cheers of the crowd died in their throats as they watched the horizon turn a bruised, sickly violet. The gold they had coveted was revealed to be a flickering illusion, and the terror that gripped them was a sharp, collective realization that their villain was actually their savior. With the villagers now frozen in a silent, horrified prayer, Alara threw her weight beside the old man she had loathed, their fingers interlocking over the cold iron as they fought to swing the gate shut against the screaming wind. When the latch finally bit home with a definitive, bone-shaking thud, a heavy silence fell over the valley, leaving the villagers to grapple with a shameful debt to the sentinel they had cursed and Alara to stand trembling in the dark, finally understanding that some walls are built not to keep people out, but to keep the nightmares at bay. The silence following the thud of the gate was heavier than the decades of resentment that preceded it. As the villagers stood paralyzed by the sight of the two figures, the girl they called a hero and the man they called a monster slumped together against the iron, gasping for air in the sudden, safe dark. In the weeks that followed, the village's anger didn't vanish, but it transformed into a somber, collective humility. They tore down the old statutes of exclusion and replaced them with a council of two, decreeing that no law could ever again be passed without a witness from both the valley and the guard. The gate remained locked, but it was no longer a symbol of oppression. Instead, Alara took up the flint and the keys alongside Elias, teaching the younger generation that a barrier is only as cruel as the secrets it hides. The other side was finally accepted as a forbidden shadow, a change in law that ensured the village survived not through the pursuit of illusions, but through a newfound respect for the harsh truths that protected their borders.